Welcome to the Wednesday Women of Wealth Live. In today's episode, today's live, we are going to be talking about different reasons why Christian women creatives find it hard to make the income and impact that they desire. So, if you are a Christian women creative and you want people to see your art, your creativity, but you don't really care about the money, this is not for you. Sis, we love you, but this one is not for you. We are here for the people that want to make money. They want to make impact. They want to have generational wealth. They want to be able to give. They want to be able to go to Macy's and not have to worry about if there's something on your card. That is why we are here. In today's email that I sent out, I actually asked those on the email list to choose between one of three options, different reasons why they find it hard to make income and impact. Three reasons why Christian women creatives miss out on different opportunities. And the three that I posed to folks on the listserv were visibility, not having enough visibility, not having a monetization strategy, and not having structure for your business and life. So I'm going to go through all three, and I want you, whether you're live or you're watching on the replay, to put in the chat which one or ones resonate with you. Ready? Okay. So, number one, no visibility. This is for my women out there who they have the gifts, they have the expertise, but the right people don't know you exist. So we know grandma loves you. That's wonderful. Like I'm glad that grandma is like, a big fan. Hopefully she's on the email list. But we want people who are going to pay us and pay us well for the different value that we bring. So if you are finding it hard for the people who need to know about you, this is probably the top bottleneck for you. The second bottleneck is monetization. So, not having a clear monetization strategy. Let me know if this is you, if this has ever been you, where you do things well for people, and your strategy is really do and pray, hope and pray, if you will. That like if I do a really good job, maybe they'll pay me well. You're the type of person, sorry, but it's what it is. You're the type of person that's like, oh, if you want to pay me, or when they ask you how much, you're like, whatever you think it's worth. That's the no monetization strategy, and I've been there. I've been there in a lot of different ways, so I understand that person. The third issue, we're gonna talk about all these in more detail, but just to get your minds going, the third thing is not having any structure. These are for all my ladies in the room who have a lot of ideas, they're visionaries, there's a lot that they wanna accomplish, but there is no rhythm to your life. There's no structure, there's no systems. Things are sort of all over the place. This is likely you also if you are multi gifted and you have a lot of things that you want to do. This might be the top bottleneck for you. So when I reached out to those on my listserv and I asked them, what are you facing? Which one of the threes do you think are the biggest issues in your life? I think a couple people gave me just one. Some people gave me more than one. Some people was like, well, it's all of them. It's just all of them. And so while that might be true, there's probably one that's more dominant than the other. So today we're going to be talking about the top two, the number one, number two, in a little bit more detail. We're going to talk a little bit about number three, but really put that for next week so we can have enough time to go in detail about that. And we're going to go through, why this happens and talk through some tips and tricks. So, again, if you resonate with any of these things, make sure that you're putting them in the chat. Even on the replay, I go back and I comment on everything. So, number one, no visibility. This is the person that has the gift, but the right people are not seeing them. So, I got a really interesting comment back this morning from someone on my listserv, and they said, well, Belinda, I really think I lean more to like number two and number three. I didn't really think about number one, visibility, because I don't I have no control over visibility. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'm just curious why you think you don't have any control over visibility. But I'm sure this is something that that many of you have also thought. I know I used to think about it in the past that like, well, I don't control the Instagram algorithm, so like I have no control. But the reality is, we have a lot more control over our visibility than we think that we have. Okay. So, one thing I'll say at the top is that there's different types of visibility, and not all visibility is necessary for your particular business and for the season of the business that you're in. Now, I think everyone needs to be visible online, point blank, period. And I'll give you example of why. How many of you have been in, listening to a speaker or been somewhere talking with someone and you look them up? You just type in their name or like you see if they have like an Instagram or Facebook or a LinkedIn profile. A lot of people do that. And so for that reason alone, you need to have an online presence because off the line between offline and online is very blurred. We go back and forth quite a bit. And so when we're talking about visibility, I don't want us to limit it to online. Yes, we need to have an online presence. But for some of you, it might make more sense to spend more time doing networking offline. So let's say that you are a author or you're, a budding speaker or podcaster and you only have like 3 to 4 hours a week to focus on visibility. Like, well, that's all I got. Okay, great. Maybe you spend an hour of that time thinking about 1 to 2, maybe even 3 things that you can post for that week. You get your ideas, you film, your B-roll. When if you don't know what that is, we'll talk more about content, in future, lives, but, you film your B-roll, you get a really engaging, text to put on the screen, also called a visual hook, and, you're done for the week. Like, you have your 2 to 3. Great. So with the rest of the time that you have, you should be looking online or talking in person about conferences in your area or going to the local commerce, like business, commerce to business or business commerce, sorry, or it might be even going to local businesses and talking with the leadership there about opportunities to speak. Again, depending upon what your business is, fill in the blank with who you need to talk to. If you're trying to build a speaking business, you need to be speaking with people. So that is something you have control over. And again, the more that you're doing things offline, it will translate to increasing, yes, your follower count, and more visibility online as well. So you have a level of control over your visibility. And as you're growing your business, I would definitely suggest ads. That's not something that I talk about in some of my offers where people are growing to like their first 25,000 K. But beyond that, you should definitely be introducing ads so that you're working smarter, not harder. You're getting right in front of your audience, and you're not just at the will of the algorithm. So we do have more control over our visibility than we might think that we do. And again, recognizing the season that you're in. You might not need to be spending as much time working on online strategies, or it might be if you're further along, you need to outsource that. You need to find an agency that can understand your brand, or you hire someone and you train them, and they work with you. I know one of the people that I've been coached by, he was a youth group leader, and one of the teens, the older teens in his group, was looking for a job, and he was like, "Hey, I'll pay you. I'll pay you $10 an hour to come and film me do some things." He got some really cool video footage to be able to use on Instagram, and they've grown to a multi-million-dollar business together. So there's different ways that we can really improve our visibility overall. The second issue that I see quite a bit, is, and let me say this. One of the things that I tell my clients, and I really want to underscore here, is that visibility is important for a lot of reasons. So, yes, we all want to make money, we want to have greater impact. But what is even more important is anything that you are doing to invest in yourself. When you spend that, let's say, 1 hour, 2 hours a week thinking about the content that you're going to create, you are more thoughtful about uh, what your audience is looking for, what their pain points are, what their biggest desires are, and you practice being able to speak to your audience. And it can be a post, it could be a story that disappears within 24 hours, right? But you're practicing being able to articulate how you add value to your potential client's life, right? You're learning how to catch them or hook them or captivate them within 3 to 5 seconds, which is a skill. That's something that you only get through practice because many of us yap otherwise. We go on and on and on. So, being able to say something in a concise manner has tremendous value, and not just for online, because one day when you're standing in front of someone who you can pitch to help, be an investor for your business, they don't have a lot of time, right? But you've already been practicing with stories over here, learning how to get people's attention within a couple of seconds. So that when you only have a couple of seconds to get this person's attention, you know how to speak to them in a more concise manner. So when we're working on our visibility, we're really doing a lot of communication training for ourselves. And all that helps to build confidence in your business in a way that just cannot be compared. It can't be compared. So we want to be working on our visibility and taking control of our visibility for several different reasons. Yes, the clients, but also for our personal development. So the second thing that came up was not having a monetization strategy. Again, this is the hope and pray group of people. Like, I have the talent, I'm adding value to people, and I'm hoping that they pay me what I'm worth, what I think I'm worth. Even though we haven't had a conversation about it, but I'm hoping maybe the Holy Spirit will tell them a number, and then they'll just write it down on a check or Venmo me or whatever, whatever it is. So that does not work, right? I'm sure many of you can attest to that. It doesn't work. It also can add a level of bitterness. Can I just be honest? Because I have found with this group of people, you give your all, you spend a lot of time making sure whatever you're doing, whatever you're creating, whatever you're accomplishing is done well. And when you don't feel like it's recognized, or really given attention to in terms of the amount of money that's given back, you can feel jaded. And the reality is, we have to understand people. And everything we do in business, we have to understand people. People are naturally selfish. All of us, we're naturally selfish. We're naturally thinking about ourselves during the day, or maybe thinking about our family or other people close to us, but we're not thinking about the business person down the street. Like, we're thinking about our own little world. And with all the different stories that you might hear in different places, maybe you see gas prices rising or whatever, people become more constrained with their money. So it's for us to set the level of value. We can't assume that people are going to understand how much value we're giving, right? So, just for example, let's say you go into an art gallery and you're admiring this oil painting and it's so beautiful. And then you hear the price. Let's say it's $4,000, and you're like, 4,000? What for this painting? But you don't know how many hours went into that one of a kind painting. There will never be another oil painting like that one. Even if the same artist did try to recreate it, there's gonna be some level of difference. It's one of a kind, and they spent a lot of hours, right? So for the artist, the one creating, they know how much time and investment went into it. But for someone not as close to it, right? The person that didn't birth it, they don't fully understand. That's why we have to articulate the price and value to people. Um, so when we're talking about this, there's three things I want to go through. And again, I would love to hear your thoughts and comments down below or in the school community overall. We're going to talk about monetization strategies. Um, and two things I hear often. The first one being, I don't know what to say, or I don't know how much to charge, right? So we're going to go through this. Keep in mind, I'm not coaching you one on one. This is a larger group of people that's watching this video now, and in the future will watch it. And so, this is a general advice, but it's not a one on one advice. So the first thing I would say is there's so many ways that you can monetize your gifts. It's crazy. There's so many things that you can do. So let's say that you are a author, right? Most authors are focused on selling books, right? They're focused on writing books and selling books, whether it's a 15-page book or a 5,000-page book, which I don't think that exists, but they're focused on selling books. And I applaud that. That's absolutely wonderful. There's other ways that you could also monetize as an author, right? So if you're an author, listen up, write down. So, for example, if you are an author, one of the things that I would do if I were you is I would put a QR code in the book. You can create QR codes for free online, a lot of different places. I know you can make it on Canva as well for free. And in that, and have that QR code redirect them to another page, right? That offers something else. So a secondary offer. So let's say you are writing children's books, right? Think about what a secondary offer could be that either the child and or guardian or parent would be interested in, right? So let's say you have a children's book and it's about a little boy on a journey of self-discovery. He's learning to fight a giant. He has a little sword or whatever. Okay, this is very David and Goliath. I didn't mean to go there, but let's just say that's what you're doing, right? Okay. Well, maybe you have, depending upon the age range, maybe you have a companion book that's also listed on Amazon, or you have a downloadable coloring sheet that could be used for a Sunday school class, or you have a guide that could be used for a Sunday school teacher for them to walk children through the book. Or you have something, a resource for parents that helps them talk about the book and like emphasize the values that are being learned. Okay, we'll have a QR code and link it to your website. And you can have a website in Canva where they can purchase things. And so a $17-20 book now becomes a $50 purchase because you include a QR code, right? So that's one way that you can add more value to whatever you're offering. Um, and depending upon, let me try and think. So for podcasting, one thing that I don't see done a lot, when you have a YouTube video or you're using Spotify as well, making sure that you have other sort of referral links, things that take people into free offers that give them an opportunity to spend more money with you at the end or invites them into a coaching call. But there should always be something on the back end. You should never sell just one thing because whenever you give some level of value, there's going to be something else that can be done or taught for their benefit. So there's so many different ways you can monetize. And the longer you're here in Positioning Women, and as you go into maybe even other paid offers, we can talk about that in more detail. But there's just so many different things that you can do for your particular business. So again, one of the things I hear most often is, okay, like I get it, but like, let's say I'm talking to people in one, let's say I'm a speaker and I'm on a stage. I don't know what to say. Or if I'm talking to someone in a DM, I don't know what to say. Um, One, I would say to make sure that you're speaking to their pain points. There's a three-step formula, I would say. Speak to their pain points, move the needle. So try to shift their belief closer to what you believe and then offer them something of value based upon their pain points. So, um, let's say you have someone who doesn't know what to say. I'm just coming up with things on the fly. Doesn't know what to say. And they just believe that sales and business is hard. So I'm not going to do what God told me to do because I'm afraid of talking to people and I don't know what to say. Okay. Well, I, in talking to you, understand that for you, there's a level of fear there, because you're not sure what's going to come up, what questions they're going to ask, possibly, uh, how to respond to a rebuttal if they have something. And so that is your pain point. And you're like, I don't know what to say, Belinda. Okay. So I now understand your pain points. I address them. I acknowledge them. I don't run away from them. I acknowledge them. I call them out. Then I would start to move the needle. What does that mean? I would start to shift your belief closer to my belief. Think about what I said earlier when I mentioned that someone said that visibility is not within their control. So I acknowledged it, but I didn't let them stay there, right? I gave a bunch of reasons and thoughts about how visibility is actually within your control. Like you're not just out here helpless. Like you have a level of control in order to move visibility in towards your direction and how to build visibility over time. So the same thing here with speaking with people. I might say, okay, well, do you think you know the top 3 or 4 issues that your client is facing or challenges? Maybe kind of, okay, well, let's talk through it and let's role play. Let's figure it out. And so now you have an idea of what the top 3 or 4 are. Okay. So now you have a little bit more level of confidence, right? Because like you have an idea of what might come up in conversation. Then I would say, okay, well, based upon the things that they could say, what are some possible responses that you might have, right, to those things that are being brought up? And so now, as you're role playing, now as you're thinking, you're feeling a little bit more calm, you're feeling a little bit more loose, and you're understanding how, okay, this thing is a little bit more possible. Then at the end, step three, I would do, and I would advise for you as well to think about what you could offer that person that helps them continue on their journey to being more confident in making sales conversations, whether again it's through texting people, direct message, in person. And then I would offer them something attached to a price tag, right? Something, and I would share it in a way that they understand the value that they're getting. So being able to confidently open up your phone and respond to any message you see there. That would be an example of the value that you could get. So as you're thinking about monetization, one, don't assume people will pay you your worth. You have to help them understand, and you need to be able to um, think about how to share in a way that attaches to value that they would see. And then pick a number that you feel confident saying. If you struggle to say my price is $4,000, don't say that. Let that not be your price. Even if it's valued at that or more, I would pick a number that you feel confident stating. And then I would challenge you to work with that client, get the results or produce something, see the reaction on the client's face, get testimonials for them, and then get more confidence to increase your price. Now, what I'm not saying is go practice in the mirror saying $1 million, right? Like there's a level of reason there, right? You need to have a level of confidence in what you're saying, but also have a general understanding of market prices for what you're offering. And again, depending upon where you are, where you're situated, that might vary a little bit. But when you have those 3 things down, you know that there's multiple ways that you can monetize. There's many strategies. You have a sense of what to say because you understand your client's pain point or your target market's pain point or what they're desiring. and you have an understanding what you feel comfortable and confident stating and sharing, then you're going to be in a better place to not just hope and pray, but really start to generate the money, the income that can help you, your family, your friends, your church, your community overall. So I want to hear from you. Make sure you put down below what you are trying out this week. I want to hear what's one aha you had, one shift, and how you want to actually improve your income and impact by implementing one of these things. So I'm going to close this out with a prayer, and then we'll talk again next week. All right. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for today. I thank you for all that you are doing in my sister's life. I bless them. I bless their business. I bless their mind. I bless their family. I bless their home. I bless everything concerning them, Lord. I thank you for how you're moving in their life. Wind of God, I ask that you encircle around them and that you keep them and you fill them with confidence. You fill them with strategy, Lord. And I thank you, Lord, that you've brought them to this community. And I thank you that you would help them to make the connections that they need even here to increase in confidence, to increase in understanding, to go out and do what you alone have put in their heart to do. I bless them in the name of Jesus. Amen. All right, ladies, I love you, and we will have our next meeting on next Wednesday, and I'll be announcing very very soon our guest worship leader for our first Positioning Women gathering, which is happening on June 23rd at 8 p.m. ET. All right, I love you guys. Take care.